Sage Wanderer here. You know, since I started my channel, a lot of you have been asking for some basic instruction on self-defense. And, some of you are gun people, some of you are not. Many of you are not. Some of you are even either physically disabled or have limited, abilities. And not everyone can just go out and start the vigorous training to become a martial artist. But at the same time, you have a right to defend yourself. So I'm starting a new series which just covers the basics, and I call it Fighting 101. And the reason I call it Fighting 101 is because it's going to cover everything from open hand, empty-handed combat to to firearms training. But it's going to come from the perspective of getting you as quickly able to successfully defend yourself with the least amount of expended energy. Because I understand a lot of you do not have the ability to expend a lot of energy, but you'd like to have some knowledge and at least some basic skills in case you're ever confronted. So, in this world that seems to be getting more and more dangerous, I decided to start this new series. And in this first episode, I'm going to give you a double episode. Episode 1, I'll be talking about stances and footwork. And in episode 2, I'll be talking about controlling range, identifying attackers, and how to control flow and direction in a conflict. Once again, not meant to be an end-all, be-all of training. It's meant to be the very basic, bare-bones, minimum thing that you need to know. And a lot of people will take the approach when doing this because a lot of people have done this, common sense self-defense sort of thing. They'll skip some of the basics, too many of the basics, I think. That's why this is starting with, getting things in the right order. And the first order of everything is always your stance and your footwork. If your foundation isn't correct, then nothing else is going to function properly and the whole system fails. So, we're going to be talking about the basics, but in a condensed form, in a quick format, in an easy to understand method. So I hope this helps you guys. Hey, if I have critics out there that want to give me a hard time for being fat and old, trying to show people how to defend themselves, I just laugh at you because I'm glad I can still do this stuff in my 50s. And as far as this fat goes, this little ranch out here has taken some of it off of me, and Texas has been good to me. So you might get to see the skinny me here soon, because I do have a skinny me. So part of this teaching process too is it's an excuse for me to work out every day and just do a little bit of workout to show you guys how to do it. And it's actually I've been filming this for a couple of days, so I just had my second session and it feels pretty good. I'm enjoying the physical workout of doing this for you guys. So I hope you enjoy my new series, Fighting 101 with Sage. Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to Fighting 101. So this first episode is about footwork. Now, one of the reasons I call this Fighting 101, and I don't name the specific martial art, because to me, whether it's hand-to-hand, whether you're armed with a knife or a club or a pistol or a shotgun, a rifle or a sniper rifle or a hand grenade, fighting is fighting. And it doesn't matter what your weapon is, whether it's your hands, your elbows, your knees, your feet, or whether it's a firearm. A lot of the basic principles still apply, and that includes the principle of footwork. So let's talk about the various kinds of footwork. I hope you can hear me. It's my first video attempt here outside. So as you can see, this is kind of my natural stance. Let's talk about stances for a minute. This is my natural stance. And if you want to look at this from this perspective, this is also similar to many martial arts stances. This one is common in karate. It's a horse stance. Feet shoulder width apart, knees bent, right? Almost a semi-squat.
There's the boxing stance, which is kind of where my natural stance is. Hey, I grew up with, you know, with float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, and, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali. And so, you know, I had that natural tendency to fall into this boxer position, which is a great position. In fact, if you find yourself in a combat situation with another person barehanded, chances are they're going to approach you from this position. So what is this position? This position is kind of with this back leg off at this angle. This front leg is not pointed straight forward like fencing. That would be a fencing position, right? But it's more cocked sideways, right? Knees slightly bent. Back somewhat straight from here to here, but lean forward, kind of sticking your butt out a little bit. And what you want to do is just be able to just, look at this from this direction. You want to be able to just rock back and forth. You want to be able to move in and out. Your upper body has this really strong foundation. You can fall back, you can push forward, and it's all right there. You don't want to stiffen your legs up too much. You don't want them to have them locked at all. That throws you off balance. You want to have them slightly bent. Somewhat aggressive stance, like you're going forward, like it's a motion. It looks like you're moving. If you do this right, it looks like you're moving, okay? Let's look at another stance. This stance, I personally got it from Bruce Lee, but it's simply a reverse boxer stance. Bruce Lee taught in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do that why have your strongest weapon, your strong hand, in the back? That's what boxers do. They have this secret weapon back here, and this is their weak hand up here. Why not put your best foot forward? Why not put your strongest hand forward? So this is what I call the Bruce Lee stance. And it is a little bit more blade width than the boxer stance. The boxer stance is more open. This southpaw, strong hand forward is almost exactly like fencing. This fencing footwork, right, that you see in the old swashbuckler movies is essentially the same thing here. And you want to have your strongest hand forward. Bruce Lee also taught not to chamber a punch. Don't pull a punch back and then throw it. Throw it from wherever it's at. Combine that with a lunge, also from fencing, right? To close the distance. In a future video, I'll teach you about range. But right now, we're just talking about footwork. So, you can have the boxer stance. You can have the karate stance. You can have the Bruce Lee fencing stance. Right? This is where his straight blast comes from. Or you can do what Sage does and combine them all. This takes time. It's like dancing. And the best thing I can do to demonstrate to you is, you remember those paddles? Young people won't know this. Older folks like me will remember this. The paddle with the rubber band and the ball. And you're like, bing, 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 bing. That's the way you're supposed to be. Most people are like, boink, ah, dang it, boink, ah, darn it, ah, man, doink, 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 ah, shit. What I'm talking about is rhythm. So this rhythm, you want to get this timing, this flow, right? Take a towel and swing it in your living room right now in a figure 8 motion. You'll feel that momentum and that centrifugal force and momentum combination to create this rhythmically rolling flow. And this is what it looks like when you work it into your footwork. When you got rhythm and flow. Even if you lose your shoe. Hey, I'm working out in flip-flops for a reason. It actually makes your calves stronger. Let's see if I can keep my shoes on my feet in this gravel. Do a little thing from dance move called a grapevine. Martial artists invented it though. It goes like this. See how this works now with gunfighting? It's the same thing. I'd be stronger in tennis shoes, but I'm showing off, doing it old school. All right, so I hope you got something from this video. Work on your footwork. Most important thing, feet are always about shoulder width apart. Knees always bent, butt always kind of sticking out. Head up, chin down. Right? Be mobile, move with fluidity, have a flow. All right, see you next time on Fighting 101. All right, so let's talk for a minute about range. And I could teach you a lot of fancy stuff and talk about all of the elements involved in range and controlling range and distance, but I'm just going to use some real world examples to show you of what you're most likely to encounter in a violent conflict. That how someone approaches you will tell you how they're going to try and fight you. And if you understand what their body tells you at the very genesis, at the very moment that a conflict becomes physical, if you can pick up information from that situation that will identify the kind of fighter you're dealing with, then it's going to give you a battle plan, or to allow you to reach into your file and pull out a prepared battle plan to deal with each individual. And it's directly related to how they approach you when it comes to range or distance. So let's look at some of the most common moments or circumstances where you will face different kinds of fighters, okay? Let's look at the most common drunken encounter, which I call the chest bump. Now, what typically happens is there'll be a conflict between you and this other person verbally from a distance. This person will then close the distance on you, and they'll come up and put their chest right in your face, and they'll throw their shoulders back like this, and they'll get right up in your face, and they'll be, ah! Now, this person will have a method and a plan. The thing they do next, more than likely, will look like this. They will be chest to chest with you. They will turn and act like they're walking away, and drop their body like this, and they will come up and they will hit you with what's called a haymaker. So it comes from almost chest to chest, face to face, nose to nose position. They'll create just enough distance to chamber the punch by feigning that they're going to turn and walk away. And they'll move like this, but it's really just a wind up for one of those. The way that you do that is to control the range. It is up to you to fight this person on your terms and on your basis, not on theirs. So don't let a person get that close to you. Okay, Sage, how do I control the range when someone steps up on me? How do I keep them from coming chest to chest, face to face with me? Okay? Now, I'm not teaching you how to run away. This is what the Marines call advancing to the rear. When someone tries to close that range on you, control the range by stepping back. What I typically do is put a leg far behind me and put a hand out like this and let them know, hey. And then I will start doing the grapevine. And now when you control range, you also control direction, okay? You want to control range and direction. So if you keep this person constantly resetting, they can't really get toward, they can't really get at you. I'll give you a case in point. Our second type of nefarious character is what I call the charge you, because he will charge you like a rhino. And his intention is to charge up to you and either go face to face, chest to chest like I talked about. But typically if they charge you instead of slowly advancing on you, then what they're going to do if their head is up is they're going to try to do the grab and punch routine. So you're standing here, the person approaches you, they come at you, and they're charging you. All right, they're moving at you. They're crossing distance. They're closing range real fast. What they want to do is they want to grab you. They want to run out like this and grab you, pull you in and start hitting you, and potentially throw you to the ground, mount you, and pound you. Okay? So we don't want that to happen, all right? So once again, we're going to control the range and the direction. So when this person comes at you, you're going to do a maneuver that later on I'll show you how to do with a firearm when facing someone with a knife. That's what I call a J-hook maneuver, because it just looks like a J, a reverse J. Well, it depends on whether you're a right-handed or left-handed person, and your circumstances, whether you'll hook to the left or hook to the right. You need to know how to do it both ways. But it looks like this. So when the individual charges you, you're going to take the step back, create the distance, let this person know, I'm not letting you overtake me. When they come at you like this, then you're going to turn and redirect their energy if you can. If they will let you, this is where you would employ a counter strike as they passed by. But potentially what's going to happen if they're trying to grab you is they're going to follow that maneuver. So when you take the step back, get framed up here, they come at you, you take the step back, you get your hand up. When they come in, you maneuver. You maneuver again. As they reset on you, you just keep maneuvering. Okay? They're going to get wise to this after about the third turn. That's when you got to reverse it or do something or strike back at them, or chances are they're going to make some move on you at this point. But you've stopped them from their initial attack by controlling the range and the direction. Once again, they come at you, step back, create the positive image that you're not going to take any crap from them. When they come at you, J-hook, lost my shoe, but I'm going to keep going. J-hook, 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 okay? Let me go get my shoe. Working out in flip-flops, old school. So, ideally then, that's going to create a circle, at which point you're going to want to reverse it at some point, or you're just going to want to go into that grapevine, uncontrolled, kind of random flow pattern that I showed you in a previous clip. So that's two. You got the guy that chest bumps you, gives you the haymaker. You got the guy that charges you, wants to grab you and punch you. Third guy, he's a wrestler. He wants to get a hold of you and squeeze your head like a pimple. We don't want that to happen. So once again, you're going to control range and distance, but more importantly, direction when dealing with a wrestler. So how do you identify a wrestler? So in wrestling, they teach you to immediately drop your center of gravity. So this movement right here will let you know you may be dealing with a grappler or a high school type Olympic style wrestler. He's going to drop his center of gravity because he wants to do a thing to you called a shoot, not with a gun. This is another thing. He wants to shoot in on you and get a hold of your lead leg, and then he's just going to grab that lead leg, roll you on the ground, and wrestle you to death. Okay? So you don't want that. So how do we avoid that? All right. One is we're going to make it hard for him to square up on you, because this is what he's doing when he takes this position. He's ready to charge you, but with a very specific intent to grab your leg, okay? So when you see somebody drop to this position, the very first thing you want to do is just change direction on them. So let's say this person, let's say from your perspective, you've dropped down on me. I saw you do it. I could drop down too. That's what he's expecting. He's a wrestler. He thinks I'll wrestle him back. But I'm not going to do that. When I see him do that, I'm going to do this. Let me show you again. I'm forcing him to change his position. He drops down on me. I don't drop down and set. I start moving. Okay? I want to get out of his direction. I want to make him change directions. Because when you drop gravity to shoot on somebody and they change direction, I got to move my foot. That's slower when you're in that crouch position. It forces them to reset. It's about 80 degrees out here, and I'm getting winded from teaching you guys. So I'm going to end this session with a story. All right. I'm going to get over here in the shade. Okay. So I was in Denver, and I went on a little downtown walk adventure. Let me get over here out of the wind, though. I'll find the right spot. Get up on the trees here. So I was in Denver downtown, and I'd gone for a little hike adventure for a walk, and I got a bad knee, and so I didn't have my cane with me, and I wished I did, because a cane helps you walk, but it doubles as a weapon. But I was starting to really feel it, and I had a pretty pronounced limp. And I was walking up this hill towards my car, and this really stout-looking guy, to me, everything about him said he just got out of prison, because, you know, they just lay up in prison and get tattoos and lift weights, you know. So he looked at me like a guy that just got out of the joint. And he starts walking next to me, going the same exact speed as me, like matching my tempo. And he starts talking to me, right? And I can tell right away this is leading towards give me your wallet. You know, like he's laying out the case why I should help him. And his body language and his attitude is telling me that I don't have a whole lot of choice if I know what's good for me. So while he's kind of looking down at his own feet, working on his story, thinking about the thing he's talking about, I just stop walking, or I slow way down and let him get ahead of me, and then I fall in behind him. Now I'm single file on the sidewalk behind him, matching his speed, before he realized what happened, and it freaked him out. So he stopped and he turned around, he dropped his head and he squared off on me, just like I showed you, just like a wrestler would. And I knew immediately I was dealing with a grappler. He dropped his head, squatted down like this, started telling me that I was disrespecting him. What was I doing? What was I trying to do? Why was I disrespecting him? Whole thing, actually, I knew what was coming, so I made it happen on my timeline, right? By making that little tactical move on him while he wasn't looking, to get myself into a better position. Because if you're gonna fight, you wanna have the best position to be in when the fight starts. You wanna be the guy sitting on the best tactical position. So I just took his back, and it made him really uncomfortable. And it caused him to just go straight to the violence and skip all the BS. So he squared up on me, and he was, you know, telling me he was gonna kick my, you know, whatever. And thing is, when he dropped down to square up on me, I did that exact same move. I just took a couple steps to the left real fast, and I dropped down into my combat position. That puzzled him. He squared up on me again. I did it again. He squared up on me again. And about every time he'd start to set down, drop his head, and act like he was going to shoot in for my leg, I'd move. And it was frustrating him to death. He was just not winning. He was not winning the cool battle. I was the cool one. He was not. Even though I was 25 years his elder, limped in there. I think he thought it was going to be an easy pushover. And now all of a sudden it didn't seem so easy, right? And the whole time that he's doing this to me, I got my hands up like I'm being robbed, and I'm yelling so that everyone, because it's in broad daylight, it's in the middle of the day, you know, and so that everyone around us on the sidewalk and on the streets can see that I'm saying, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. Can't we just get along? I don't want any trouble. And he's screaming at me, and he's trying to square off on me. And so when he drops down every time I move, and he gets really frustrated, and then at that point, he's figured out, remember I told you if you do 2 or 3 of these in a row, they're going to catch on, that you know, that you're going in a circle. So when that kind of happened and he tried to cut me off on my circle, I just started doing that kind of grapevine snake monkey walk thing that I showed you in the previous video, where I just kind of randomly do this, you know, kind of thing where I'm just, you know, gracefully dancing around in a fluid manner. And he stopped and looked at my feet, shook his head like that, and yelled, F you, man. And he just took off running. He ran from me because I guess he decided I wasn't a good mark. I wasn't somebody that he thought that was going to be an easy guy to push over, you know. So sometimes you can prevent a fight just by knowing what you're doing, and that your ignorance about fighting is the most powerful attractant to a criminal. That a criminal, someone that wants to hurt you or dominate you, if they think you know how to fight, they're not going to really try it, because they're not looking for a fight, they're looking for a win. So you just put some doubt in their mind that they can win, make them think maybe they can't win, maybe there's a possibility they might lose, and just make it too difficult for them, and they'll just give up and go find another pigeon. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this this first section of Fighting 101, where we're talking about, first we did the section on stances and a little bit on footwork. Today we talked about range and controlling flow and direction. And so we'll move on. I'm teaching you how not to get hit. If you're wondering, when does the punching going to start? You're going to get frustrated with me. I probably won't teach any punching until after I've taught you how to not get punched. All right, we'll see you next time.